Hello guys, how are you? 다시 만나서 반가워요. So, I have greeted you guys now in Korean and I will tell what it means later at the end of the lesson. So, let us pay attention. Look at me. Look at my pretty face and hear my pretty voice. North Korea, United States, China, Russia, and Japan. Nowadays, many attentions are paid to the talks between the powerful countries of the world and the North Korea. In fact, North Korea's nuclear issue is not a problem between North Korea and South Korea. The small country Korea has always had a tough history as between the surrounding powerful countries. Today, I would like to discuss about Korea's best friends and biggest enemies, the China and Japan. Korea is located at the eastern end of Asia. If you look at the map of East Asia, we can see that Korea is located between the China and Japan. Japan is an island country like Philippines. They always had a strong will to enter into the continent. So if they conquer Korea, it will lead as a stepping stone to go into the continent. China, despite of having such large land and population, they had still attacked Korea to expand their country. Through themselves, they wanted to be the country of superiority or the emperor country, thus the sovereign of the world. So Korea, China, and Japan had a lot of wars. However, there were also a lot of interactions. As Asian relics discovered in this country have numerous similarities, and moreover, many traces of their interactions are still remaining. Do you guys remember our last meeting's lesson about Hangul? That Korean used to borrow Chinese characters as their letters? Korea used Chinese characters right in the same formation until King Sejong invented Hangul. Even now, there are lots of Chinese terms melted in Korean words. So Korea, China, and Japan, these three countries are similar in appearance and also they have various similarities in culture and politics. China is virtually impossible to see as one country. There are 55 minor ethnics and besides, the total population of the country is around 1.37 billion. And not only the China but also the overseas Chinese communities are advanced in every corner of the world. They are also the country that has endured a lot of wars due to the country's big dimension and huge number of nations. That is why, in the spirit of tolerance and compromise, China has a spirit to collect as one China. And whosoever be against their spirit, they strongly enforce pressure to them, and they were the Muslim independence, the Tibetan independence movement, and the Taiwan statement as solely independent country. Few years ago, Hong Kong's independence movement happened to attract worldwide attraction. On the other hand, it is also true that there is an overflowing tendency of individualism as they pay their attention only for their own self-interest. They only care about their self-well-being and self-prosperity. Therefore, we may call that Chinese best value is 1. Force and solo. Japan is an island nation, so if they fight each other, the result will be bringing their own selves to destructions. Possibly for that reason, the Japanese people are bearing kindness in their body. Japan is the country that has least developed of insulting and abusive words, so we call bad words or mura in the word. And the duality of the people, such the actual heart and the words spitting out on the outside is different, and they extremely reluctant to touch each other. Even a handshake and a cuddle feel awkward to them. It seems that they have a little too much consideration and kindness to each other. Everyone seems to be trapped in a capsule, but if they have a public goal, they have a more terrific cohesiveness than any other nation in the world. Since the Japanese people hates to give discomfort or damage to others, and they put more importance to the personal matters, they have the characteristic or specialty of owning the world's best CD-ROM offline games, which can be enjoyed alone rather than internet online games playing as a team. It shows the distinctive feature of the Japanese people most visibly. And as we see the coherence of their characteristic, the best value of Japan is harmony and peace. Korea is a peninsular nation. Korea has a tough history that had suffered from external aggregation. So the most important thing than anything else is to survive. And they has an exclusive ethnicity that strictly refuses to blend blood with other nations to keep maintaining the pure blood descent. Now it has changed a lot, but they had great rejection of marriage between different nations. Since Korea has been throughout the world like a living, their best mission is to keep what they own until the end by putting up their life. And for that, the method Korean has chosen is chung. Chung is a mind to worth common values apart from personal interests, a fair and even mind. It is about not changing one's mind for personal gain. The key value is the chung from 충성, which means loyalty, 충직, which means faithfulness, and 충신, which means loyalist. While going through the rough history, a stubborn and uncompromising personality, the unity of joining forces with neighbors to prevent foreign invasion and protect their lives, properties, and family, and the communalism which relies on group for everything have become the characteristic of Korea. Korea, China, and Japan are very dissimilar in terms of clothing, eating, and also in sleeping appearance. So, shall we take a look to the traditional costume of the three countries? Even though they are neighboring countries, they look so different. Certainly, they have been to exchanging various kinds of cloth or fabrics such as silks, but their outfit on dress looks completely different. What about the house they live? The Chinese people also sleep in bed like Westerners and use chairs in their house. So it seems to be the same in the Philippines. The Philippines is also very much influenced by the Westerns, so they also sleep in a bed and use chairs at home. On the other hand, Japanese people sleep in tatami or straw mat on the floor. Tatami refers to the traditional flooring material used in Japan. The inside of tatami is filled with rice straw to a thickness about 5 centimeters, and the outside is covered with mattress mats and sewed in a rectangular shape. They use clothes such as silk, hemp, and cotton to attach outer lines to the edges. Korean people are not used to the bed. They lay a sheet of oil paper or vinyl sheets on the soil floor, and they spend the whole cold winter in the ondol room, which is Korean hot floored room. The floor of the room is heated by setting fire under the floor, and in ondol of on refers to warm and dol refers to stone. The Koreans go through the summer in the floor called maru, which is made of wood to let the cool air passes through it. What about the way of eating? The common thing is that all three countries use chopsticks. People in Korea, China, and Japan do not use forks. However, the length of the chopstick used by the three countries are different. Chinese uses the longest chopstick, Korean uses the medium size with a spoon, and Japanese uses the short chopsticks. The Chinese mostly eat food fried in the oil or pan-broiled food. Isn't it hard to use short tools while cooking the oil-fried food? Because most of the time the oil is springing out. That is why the Chinese use long chopsticks. Besides, long chopsticks matches well for picking fried dishes. In the Korea where the meats were precious, they have made tang, which is like soup in a pot, and meats or fisheries are boiled with vegetables and spices, so that many people could share the meat even in small quantity. There are many types of foods that eat rice and soup separately or eat rice in a soup. So they always use chopsticks and spoon together. Among the three nations, Korea is the only one using spoon for scooping rice. In ancient Japan, rice or bigas was precious, so they mostly cook rice or kanin with mixed grains. Such kanin were sorghum rice and millet rice. The mixed grain rice was less sticky, so actually it is hard to use chopsticks for eating them. That is why the Japanese eating style is holding the bowl near to their mouth, then sweeping the rice into the mouth by using chopsticks. So they have used short chopsticks rather than long chopsticks. And the habit of eating by holding the rice bowl near their mouth is still remaining. In Korea, when you hold a rice bowl while eating and sweep the rice into our mouth with chopsticks, the elders would scold us for not having proper eating manners. In contrast, it would be strange for Japanese to see eating rice with a spoon. Small differences in culture sometimes may cause misunderstanding about each other. If you go to the west end of Eurasia continent, there are England, France, and Deutschland. Throughout the long history, these countries have intertwined by constantly having interactions and disputations. They have many similarities in history, culture, and society, and are alike with each other. Though the three countries in the east are said to have constant interactions and kept in coming and going, but each country has lived while closing the door of their heart. China was not interested in their marginal countries as they were immersed by the Chinese ideology that their country was the center of the whole world. And since China's culture was far ahead of Western culture until the 18th century, they generously accepted the culture coming in from the outside without fear. There was pride and confidence that Chinese culture itself is the mainstream of the world's culture. Korea historically has defended well against the invasion of huge China. But when the unified China became too big to deal with, the Korea then surrendered to the Chinese unification policy. Instead of serving China as the master, Korea was able to guarantee the autonomy of Korean Peninsula and independence in form. It's just only that Korea became worried that their identity might disappear in this kind of relationship. With the exception of minimal diplomatic and trade relations, the Korea locked the door tightly of the country and have lived for 500 years like island nation, but apparently not a true island nation. In the meantime, the unique and inherent culture of Korean nations alone, as well as national traits, have been formed. Japan is an island nation nestled at the eastern end of the earth. It is the only country that has never been invaded by foreign countries, excluding being under US forces for a while due to their defeat in World War II. And because of the distinctive temperament of the island country, Japan has cultivated a unique culture by digesting the culture that came in from the outside. Since Japan was liberated from fear of external intrusion, unlike China and Korea, they were able to develop delicate and slender feminine culture more than a strong masculine culture. Perhaps you will not easily be able to distinguish between Koreans, Chinese, and Japanese. Many Koreans residing in the Philippines are often asked by the Filipinos, "You Chinese?" "네, 인치가 봐." Because we look very similar in physical appearance. However, please keep in mind that behind the same appearance are different cultures, civilizations, and histories are existing. The contents that I have introduced today were based on the storybook with the title of A Faraway Country, A Neighbor Country, written by author Lee Won-bok. Korea, Japan, and China are just neighboring countries, but they also feel like very far away countries from each other. The Philippines is a far country in distance which takes 4 hours by plane from Korea. But many Koreans visit the Philippines nowadays as they just go to the neighbors. Now, all countries in the world have become neighbors. If you set your mind, you can sit at home and chat with friends from faraway countries. Even faraway countries that do not seem to have anything to do with me, they can be my neighboring country someday. That's why we are now preparing ourselves step by step to become a global leader. So, our global leaders, study a lot, think a lot, and look forward to meet a lot of people. I'll meet you next time. Oops! I almost forgot to teach you the Korean term greeting. 다시 만나서 반가워요 means it's great to see you again. Okay guys, greet me next time when we see each other like that. 다시 만나서 반가워요. Okay? See you next meeting. 다음에 또 만나요. 안녕.